Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're at Snap. She did it before in the previous take and it worked really well, but I guess it did not deliver this time. Oh well, it'd be like that sometimes. Anyway, Snap, the Society of Northern Alberta Print Artists. So super exciting. Gonna go look at some art, talk to some people who know how to do art, and then you might see Rochelle and I doing art. I'm not artsy, so...
Me neither.
Well, like physically artsy. Like I can't paint or nothing like that, so...
I can paint like color by numbers. I'm really good at that, actually. But
wow,
that's
so
about it.
You'll see how it goes. Let's go. All right, and welcome back, everyone. Today we are at Snap, and we are speaking with a very special guest, the Executive Director. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. So welcome to Snap. My name is Bodewitz. I'm the Executive Director here. And right now we are nestled in our gallery space.
Awesome. And can you tell us a bit about yourself?
I'm the Executive Director here at Snap. In addition to running the ship, I'm also a full-time artist. I'm also a mom. I'm an outdoor enthusiast. So everything that Snap embodies is like a home away from home for me.
And so what does SNAP stand for?
Yeah, so SNAP is Society of Northern Alberta Print Artists, but most commonly we go by SNAP or SNAP Gallery.
And how long has it been operating for?
Yeah, so SNAP came into inception in 1982, if I have that right. Yeah, we just celebrated our 40th anniversary last year. And so that was a huge landmark. If many people have 40th birthdays, flamingos appear everywhere, and we had flamingos everywhere to bring in our 40th anniversary.
Aww.
But it's been a long haul for arts organizations. That's a pretty impressive landmark. Mm-hmm. And I may touch upon this more, but printmaking collectives, which is what we are, really kind of come from community needs. Once we tour the studio space, you'll see that we have some pretty specialized equipment. And there's definitely practices that you can do out of your home, but it's really can be really impactful when you have facilities like SNAP in order to provide the critical resources and space for artists to do their practice. So as a printmaking collective, as a community-oriented collective, we're just so proud to be here and for how long that we have been here.
That's awesome. And so can you speak a bit about what printmaking means for those who might not know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really funny medium because I think it's one that people actually interact with maybe the most in their day-to-day life, but they don't know much about it. And so I kind of usually break it down like people so commonly know about like painting or drawing or sculpture as kind of like these bigger categories of art making, but printmaking is a huge umbrella as well. But why I say people interact with that a lot in their life is commonly anything that you wear. If there's an image on your apparel, it might be a printmaking process. Stationery, if you're writing in an agenda or your journal of the day, or you're writing cards to loved ones, commonly those still overlap with printmaking processes. So printmaking in itself, we have things like silk screening, etching, lithography, letterpress, and those words will make a lot more sense when we get into the studio space and I'm able to show you guys around. But they are different processes that allow you to create your image on a separate surface and transfer it onto a different substrate. That can be like paper, that can be wood, that can be t-shirts, that can be tote bags, that can be cards. But they're all just different processes. They all kind of have their own niche aesthetic, but they're all really beautiful. And I think one of the cool things with printmaking too is its ability to tap into reproduction. And that doesn't take away from the original value of the original piece of art, but it allows us to make lots of really great images. But you'll also see that even in our gallery spaces, our artists really push the boundaries of traditional printmaking. Commonly, it really is on paper, it's two-dimensional. But even if we span around this gallery now, you'll see that it can end up on walls, it can end up in sculpture, and there's a lot of just really great avenues to express printmaking.
That's so cool, because I think for myself at least, I love art, but not, well, no, I shouldn't say not physical art, because I do love physical art, but I'm not talented in creating physical art. I'm more like writing and acting, so that's kind of art. But I always think about the art that I interact with every day, especially because Sahar, she does design, and so she's helped me bring an appreciation for the like printed art around me. But I think a lot of people, as we spoke about earlier, kind of just move through their day not really realizing that like someone had to make it, it had to come from somewhere, which is like really interesting to think about.
Yeah, and I would even touch too, even on your comment about maybe not being well versed or attuned to like visual art and in the printmaking world. I think that's another great gift of printmaking, is that there's so many different aesthetics and processes that like, it's just, I find it's really low stakes for people to get involved with, because it's a double-edged sword in a good way, because it's low stakes because you can do really like digital or graphic content, so you're not like hand drawing. You don't have to come into this process and be like, here's a perfect still life or a perfect portrait. If you just want to print text, if you're excited by poetry or words, you can jump on the letterpress and set a sentence or a beautiful sentiment and print that and make that art. Or you can create that digitally on a computer, expose that on a silk screen, and be able to print that text and a powerful statement on a t-shirt. And then on the other side of that, though, you also can get painterly marks, you can get sketch-like marks, you can get photographic marks. So I find that that's also such a joy, because my experience with going through university in a fine arts program is I found that you were really encouraged to kind of like fit into a box and, you know, just focus on the printmaking, or excuse me, the painting department or the drawing department. But when I found printmaking, I realized that you could do all of it, but through one medium, and I think that's a real gift and a beauty of printmaking.
That's so beautiful and like very touching and almost inspirational. I'm like, maybe I can do it.
Spread the word of printmaking.
And so, speaking of the different forms of art, how many artists do you have working here?
Yeah, so I could have touched on this earlier, but we are a nonprofit and an arts organization, and we kind of run off of like a membership base. So our members are just also just the general public that believe in what we do and want to support us, and just, you know, renew their annual membership. But that being said, right now our membership supports about 160 members, and then actively what we have coming through our doors in the studio, though, is usually sits around like 40 to 60 of consistent artists using our space. We have 8 independent studios. 4 of them, though, are shared. So at any time we can support 12 artists in our independent studios. And then our print shop is 4,000 square feet, and that's a shared space. So for our members who are fairly self-sufficient in their practice, can meet our health and safety standards, they can have more or less free reign in the studio space. They have 24/7 access. And like I said, we see about 40 to 60 come through the door regularly to use that shared space.
That's awesome. I feel like I use that word too much, but I just love when artists have like a space to go, because I know like when you're first starting out as like an emerging artist, it's really hard to kind of, like, depending on where you live and like what your environment is like, it's hard to find a space that supports what you do and find people. Network, that's what I was gonna say. It's also a great opportunity for the artists that are coming in to like meet other artists and network and kind of find people who enjoy the same things as them. So
yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's one of the, once again, the great gifts of Snap is, and you already touched on it, because it's community orientated, it's like I found that there was a really big gap and a little bit of a fear when you leave, commonly if you're coming from like an academic stream or a cohort or a mentorship already, is this kind of like, I don't want to be a lone ranger in a studio space. I like bouncing ideas off of other people. I like being inspired by the busyness of other people creating. And I think that is what is so great that we get to provide and cultivate here. But also just having, you know, I'm not tooting our own horn, but like we really are a leading facility for resources and studio space, specifically with printmaking, but the arts and culture sector as a whole. People gravitate to Edmonton to come and print at Snap. There definitely are other beautiful arts organizations and printmaking collectives scattered across the country, but we've worked really hard to establish ourselves as a lead in this because we find it so important to provide the space for practicing artists and just for community members to come in and learn something new and be empowered that they can make art and express themselves. So it's really important.
Absolutely, and I think too, being able to recognize that you're doing such wonderful things for the community and for the artists. Like, it doesn't sound like you're tooting your own horn. Like, you've worked, like, as a whole, Snap has worked hard to get to where Snap is today. Mm-hmm. And so that is respected and understood. And don't think like, oh, I don't want to be like, you know? Because, yeah. Speaking, though, about the community, because the artists can come in and use the space. Mm-hmm. For example, do you have like classes or workshops, or how does that work for people who want to learn?
So we offer a really robust roster of educational programming here at Snap. More commonly, our classes are offered during our kind of fall-winter. So we have a lot of classes throughout September to usually around March. We have some that run through the beginning of spring and summer, and then we continue that cycle. But we really try to offer programming that is accessible to all levels. We have many classes that are just introductory. You do not need any experience. We have a great one called Print Sampler. So if printmaking in its entirety sounds a little bit scary and unknown, it's a really great class because you can jump in and you get to try a little bit of everything. And then if anything excites you or sticks, then we've got programming that carries forward and you can kind of pursue that further. But so lots of, introductory classes, intro to silkscreen, intro to letterpress, intro to etching. The print sampler is great. And then we also offer classes that like are a little bit more niche or a little bit more like specified. So if you're really interested on silkscreening and printing on textiles, then we will do that specifically. We have a class coming up too for photographers. We also have a dark room here. There's not many of those facilities, not only in Edmonton, but in the country. So that's kind of like one of our hidden gems. But we have a lot of photographic processes that also overlap with printmaking. So we've got like a photo specific class coming. So if you're a photographer and that excites you, that's a great way to get involved. And then you see all these different ways you can print your fine art. And then, we level up too with professional development classes as well. So people just with kind of progressing technique or even professional development in the sense of like artists looking to acquire some skills in terms of kind of like business or entrepreneurial skill sets. So like looking at the fun but important things like taxes or how to write grants or how to network and things like that.
Wow. That covers like more than school does, you know, like
That's
actual information that you need.
That's what we heard. We're trying to be that fusion of like, we are like artists in the real life.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's really common. We have a pretty direct stream from like the academic world, but tying it back to our educational programming is, we're really motivated to like be accessible and reach out to anybody who's interested. So we don't want to just like lean on those kind of higher education institutions. A lot of us are really grateful for the education we've gotten there, and we wouldn't be here without it. But now that we're a community with that skill set, we really want to make it accessible to everybody. So these introductory classes, we really are welcoming all walks of life.
And so classes and lessons, that's amazing and wonderful. Do you do any other types of events or anything like that?
Yeah, so we do a lot of community-oriented events. Same thing, it's just to kind of like get individuals through the door and get them excited about what we do and see our space. In the summer, we had what we called patio parties. We also had like campfires and family-friendly activities, so it's meant to be very community-oriented. Just gather with like-minded, lovely people, and then make some art, take some risks, and just have fun. And so with it being the fall, though, right now we are ramping up for our probably biggest and best community event. It's also our major annual fundraiser. As a nonprofit, we rely really heavily on engagement with this event. It contributes to our core operations and programming and lets us exist and let us do these classes for everybody. But so this big community event is called Print Affair. It overlaps with our members' show and sale, so the exhibition actually gets taken over by all of our members that have been working so hard throughout the year to create beautiful new pieces of artwork. We have that artwork on display and we have it for sale. So it's an incredible way to not only buy local art, support local artists, a portion of that goes back into the organization, and then we just supplement that with like food, drinks, live music, silk screening ornaments, Christmas cards, kids running around, and everyone just having a really lovely evening.
So just good vibes all around.
Yeah, and the theme is more is more. So imagine like everybody in full prints, be as extravagant as you want. More is more can be defined however. So if like more is like leisure and you just like want to show up in like head to toe PJs, go for it. If it's like extravaganza and you want like a night gala gown, come on down.
Wow. I love it.
Be outrageous.
Have a little costume change midway through.
Yeah,
Might as well.
and there may or may not be an award for best dressed. So
Ooh.
just saying, bring your best. Yeah.
And so, speaking of that event and the artist's work being on sale, is that the only time throughout the year that you can purchase the art at the gallery here?
No, so we have a whole section of our art store that's available year round. So we do a couple initiatives we do a couple projects where we commission artists and we create things like t-shirts. Like we'll have a round of this year's t-shirts are, these artists participated and this is what we have available for purchase. We have a great selection of cards and stationery that we not only everything's hand printed, which is really incredible. Some artists donate their time to do so. Some artists just are stationery artists or cards and stationery are part of their practice and they'll just send some our way to sell. And once again, as a nonprofit, all of those proceeds just go directly back into the organization and support our programming. And then the other really cool initiative that brings in a lot of fresh prints throughout the year is our Snapline publication. So we do a printed magazine meets newsletter. It's a full-blown publication that we do 3 times a year. And through that program, we're able to commission 3 artists to make original physical artwork. And so that original physical artwork not only gets sold in our art store, but it also overlaps with kind of our membership tiers. So we, as I touched on with being our arts organization running on a membership, we have tiers for our members. And right now it's the third tier. We have 4 tiers. We have a senior and student rate, we have an individual rate, then we have our Snapline, and this year we're actually just about to launch our Print Patron membership, which I can touch on. But anyways, our Snapline membership, anybody who's a Snapline member receives these, gets 3 fine art prints throughout the year and the publication as part of their sponsorship. Yeah, it's kind of like not a subscription box.
Better than that.
Better. But it's this really elevated tier of membership that gets original local artwork in their hands 3 times a year. But those artists do a large edition, so we're able to have those prints for purchase as well. So yeah, in our art store year-round, we've got prints from various sizes, small, big. We've got t-shirts, we've got cards, we have puzzles, we have books, all things print. Yeah.
And so, speaking of that Snapline, how do you choose, or how are the artists chosen for Snapline? Like, can anyone submit? Is it only open to your members? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, no, the Snapline is such a cool initiative because it's run by a committee, and we do it 3 times a year, but the submissions are all open calls, and all positions are paid. So if you're submitting artwork as an artist, you are reimbursed for that. But we also get a pay content creators and editors and writers. So this is a really fun overlap because the print world really does stretch pretty far. So we find a lot of overlap with writers and editors and contributors. So we get to pay people to write about their artwork, reflect on other people's artwork. Each snapline has a theme, so that's kind of what guides the open call. But yeah, it's a really wicked and generative way for us to expand our community. As the executive director, my favorite thing is paying artists to do art. So this is such a fun initiative, and it's one of our core programming that we love to do, and it's just a beautiful way for us to connect with our membership and the community, because in addition to just really creative content, we're also sharing what the organization's up to. We have a message from our board. It's really important for our membership to be tied to our board. So it's a great extension. If we don't get to say hi to all of our people all the time, we get to for sure connect with everybody 3 times a year through our Snapline program.
It's so heartwarming just hearing the way that you're speaking about this, because I could tell that you're so passionate about it, and it's just amazing. And people supporting people, I love to see it.
It's great. It's a great, yeah.
And so you've spoken about so many wonderful things, but I can imagine that there must be, like, everyone has hard days, challenging moments. What would you say is the most challenging aspect of, you kind of do a lot because you're the executive director, you're an artist, you're a mother, so take that question however you'd like, but what would you say is the most challenging aspect of the work that you do, maybe, if I word it that way?
I mean, I think you may or may not have already touched on it. My position specifically, there's just so many feathers in my hat that I wear. So it is constantly a juggling act. Somebody once gave me the metaphor or analogy that I carry forward, but it's like constantly juggling plastic and glass balls, and don't drop the glass ones. But the plastic ones can do sometimes. They bounce back. But I don't think that I am unique in saying that just arts organizations and nonprofits in general commonly find themselves stretched. Like I've kind of expressed, we've been able to really grow Snap into something quite big and quite beautiful. But at the same time, there's only 3, we're a team of 3 behind keeping things running on the day-to-day operations. I do have the support of a beautiful board. So as a nonprofit, we have a board of 13 that support us in all of our initiatives. But it's just taking on a lot to keep everything covered. But I've already expressed that it's very rewarding. So we put our heads down and we do the work to keep the doors open and the space welcome for everybody.
And as you've spoken about, it is very rewarding. What would you say is the most rewarding aspect or part of the work that you do?
I mean, it's working with people. It's the people part is the best. The admin stuff is...
Who needs paperwork?
Yeah. But no, working with people, I really enjoy when we have our install weeks in the gallery. So not most commonly, but our gallery supports both like local, but also national and international artists. So it's great to obviously work with the local artists because commonly we've been involved with their journey and we kind of get to see it come to fruition, and that's such a joy. But then it's also really great when we have selected an artist that's from somewhere else in Canada and it finally comes to install week and we get to meet them and spend time with them and help them once again see their vision come to life. And that's really, really fun. I think another great joy, though, is that I've touched on this, but we've really made a push to try to figure out how we can make our space accessible to maybe communities or demographics that don't commonly go through an academic stream or aren't commonly coming through our door in other avenues. So we've partnered with Boyle Street recently, and that has been such an incredible initiative. Individuals and families who are experiencing homelessness or poverty, seeing them have some empowerment through making art is like incredible. It's really special. We've done other programming too with just demographics that historically haven't felt welcome in these spaces, and I think it's really important for us to carve out time and space for those people because they deserve joy and having fun and just trying new things like anybody else.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
really appreciate that. And I can't speak for them, obviously, but I'm sure that they appreciate it as well, and it really impacts them in a positive way, which may go unsaid, may go said, but I definitely think through the process and through the work, you'll be able to see that because you're giving them a chance to do something, whereas a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah, it can go a long way, we hope. And it's really beautiful. Yeah.
And so moving forward, what are your hours of operation?
Yeah, okay. So our gallery space is open Wednesday through Saturday. Wednesday through Friday, we are 12 till 6. Saturday, we are 12 till 5. You can most likely, though, find staff and get a hold of us Tuesday to Saturday at roughly 9 to 6. We're closed Sundays and Mondays. Yeah.
And you've spoken about being an artist yourself. Do you have a medium in particular that's your favorite?
Printmaking. Yeah, my process is heavily rooted in printmaking as well. I more likely stay in the lane of silkscreen, but I do consider myself a multidisciplinary artist. So I am one of those people that like to push the boundaries of traditional printmaking. So I silkscreen on wood predominantly. I also have a passive silkscreening on found objects like doors and windows. If it's flat, we can print on it. But I also incorporate it with large-scale drawings. So I do graphite drawings on wood, and then I silkscreen into them. And then I've also dabbled with public art, large-scale murals, both in this, on the streets, in schools, with some pretty heavy-duty big clients as well. Yeah.
And so what led you to art? What made you want to be an artist?
How much time do we have? I am one of those people, I will try not to make it cliche, but it just was always in me. It was something that was cultivated and fostered at a really young age. I grew up in a fairly unique setting on a mountain tucked away in northern BC, and I attribute a lot of my artistic pursuits to how I was raised, both in just we didn't have anything else to do, so you better get creative, but also in just kind of these grounding principles of trying new things, being kind, being creative. But I also, since I came from such a small neck of the woods, I did not learn about printmaking until university. So I think that's kind of an interesting path too, where I was already on an artistic path, but I didn't really know where I was going to land. But I touched on this earlier, is that when I found it, it just clicked, because I had felt like I had to commit to only doing drawing or commit to only doing painting. And then I found the world of printmaking. You can do it all. And lots of it. You can make lots of it. So I thought that was really beautiful. And maybe that's also one of the reasons that I really love our outreach and our educational programming, is because, like I said, people walk around and experience, maybe even wear printmaking on a regular basis, but people don't really know what it is. So yeah, come to Snap. We'll teach you all about it.
You've been an artist for a long time.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite piece, either that you've ever seen or that you've created and you've been this is chef's kiss, this is it? Chef's
kiss. You should meet my 3-year-old Bowden. He is my greatest masterpiece.
Aww.
Yeah, okay. But I worked really hard at that one. I worked really hard. Let me think. Well, yeah, actually I am. Okay, we'll toot my own horn again. Probably one of my most recent projects, and it overlapped with leading up to being a mom and also the pandemic, shout out, and me taking this position. So it was one of my last really big projects before I kind of really spread myself out. But I had an opportunity, with the support of the Canada Council for the Arts, I had the support for a really big grant to go back to where I'm from and hike around with, to learn about an Indigenous-led conservation effort to save the caribou of northern BC. And so I got to go there, spend time tucked away on a mountain with the Indigenous community members and 15 members of this Indigenous caribou herd. And I got to go experience it, and I documented it, and I sketched. and all of that. And I brought all of that back into my studio and made a whole body of work that now kind of advocates for caribou conservation. There's a whole short film if you want to go look at it.
Yes.
It's called Mothers of the Mountains. And they just celebrated their 10-year anniversary of the initiative of the project, and it is being like documented scientifically that this is the most successful conservation initiative in Canada to save the caribou. So it's so cool. I love caribou. You should learn more about it if you'd like to, but I'm really proud of that project. So Mothers of the Mountains is one of my greatest babies, besides my physical baby. Really great as well. Yeah.
You've lived so many lives. That's so cool. Oh my
Feathers.
goodness.
There's so many feathers in the hat.
So many feathers. So many balls that you're juggling.
Yeah.
So you talked a bit about here in Edmonton and northern BC, but if you could open a studio anywhere in the entire world, or on another planet if you really wanted, where would you open one and why?
Dang. This might seem like a cop-out of an answer, but I actually think spaces like SNAP are really important in places like Edmonton, Alberta. I say that for a couple of reasons, because once again, this isn't to take away from Edmonton, but other areas of the world really are intrinsically culturally rich. They have the history and roots, whereas out west we feel a little bit fresh still. And so I think spaces like SNAP are really important to kind of like cultivate that culture and celebrate it. And then especially tucked in our corner, our city is a mosaic of individuals. And I think creating space for all kinds of voices and perspectives is so important. So I think when you live in a really diverse place, you need to actually like actively amplify those voices. So I think that's something that Edmonton has to work at, and I think SNAP gets to be part of that. And then we don't need to get all crazy, but like places where the arts kind of has to advocate for itself. It's important for like really sound institutions and facilities like ours to like show that we are strong. And we are impactful and we make a difference and people need us and we want to be here to serve that community. I think that we really can be an example to show that like arts and culture matters. I think it's important when you're maybe in communities that kind of prioritize other sectors or other industries, that it's really important that the arts and culture is strong. I think we should just be here. I mean, like Morocco would probably be like visually beautiful, sure. But like it's really, I think the work that we do here is really important. So I think this is our home.
I completely agree. And I quote it way too much, but I love that one scene, if you've ever seen Dead Poets Society, where Robin Williams is talking to his class. He says all this stuff about like your typical like science, being a lawyer, but then he says music, art, poetry, that's what you stay alive for. And I think it's so often forgotten and like sad that the arts so often has to like advocate for themselves and be like, we're here, people need us, it's important. But the fact that they always do and come out strong, like
Exactly.
it means something.
Totally. Yeah, you can't deny it. Yeah.
And just a couple more questions to wrap up here. What's something that you wish people knew about SNAP?
I mean, maybe even like you touched on, Bridget, like everybody is welcome. You don't even have to be an artist to come play here. We will help you with that. So just know that there's a space, there's a process, there's a class, there's an event for everybody, and that the resources and the knowledge and the community is here to help you bring you into that world. Just the hand is out. Come on in.
And the last question is, what is the best piece of advice you've received throughout your life? It's very general. It doesn't have to be art specific.
I think I'm bad at these kinds of questions. I don't know if I can like condense it into a saying, but I do remember, coming to that point of wanting to jump 2 feet into being a full-time artist. And I remember it was probably came from somebody, but like denouncing this notion that like you don't have to be a struggling artist. There kind of seems to be like, in the arts world, like some kind of like pride in it, like being tough, because we're the like subculture, we're the rebels trying to do the uncertain. And like there's a lot of beauty that can come from just like creating in that kind of space. But on the other side of it, like you can also put food on your table, and like if you want a mortgage, you can have a true career and passion and job in the arts. It doesn't have to be this mythical creature. And I think encouraging people, young individuals that are like really interested in the arts, but like also like, well, I'll probably double up on a serving job, or I'll try to do this. There is room and space for you to do that. And I've expressed through this that not only is there space, it's really important to have individuals like that. So just this advice of that an arts career, an arts path is just as valued and important as any other. And go for it. There's definitely a way to do it.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me. So I just wanted to highlight our upcoming community event. It's our major annual fundraiser, the Print Affair. It's taking place on Saturday, December 2nd. During the day, we have a family-friendly activity, an event from 12 until 3. So families, little ones, everybody is welcome. And then we pour into the evening. We have a champagne viewing of our members show and sale from 6 p.m. to 7. And then from 7 p.m. on to late, we have an evening of live music, food, drinks, printmaking activities, and we hope to see everybody there. So join us for Print Affair on December 2nd and celebrate our incredible organization, our community, and dress up head to toe in full print pattern.
Right now I'm just getting a plate ready to print. First step is kind of getting all the ink into the cracks for Intelio, so kind of pushing it down in there. So copper etching is something that you can do at Snap. We've got the setup for ferric chloride and can do the etching, printing. Got a couple presses to work on for that. All right. You can kind of see that. Base ink, and then the paper needs to be a little bit damp, but not like sopping wet. So it's just like the right consistency to get all of the ink transferred over.
My name is Myken. I'm the print shop and programs coordinator. It's not print shop. I'm like kind of the technician here, so I really try to make the artists happy and keep chemistry topped up and presses running smoothly. I coordinate classes, all kinds of things. Yeah.
Cool. And so are you yourself an artist?
Yeah. I actually moved here to Edmonton for the MFA program at the U of A. So I have a master's in printmaking, and I'm very lucky to be working here in a community print shop. Yeah.
Cool. And so what's your, is printmaking your favorite medium as well of art?
Yeah, hands down. I mean, I do like to dabble. I mean, umbrella, printmaking is a massive umbrella, so I like to dabble in all kinds of printmaking. I do a lot of photo-based etching, some print animation, some sound stuff. Yeah, I'm a big dabbler.
And what would you say is the most challenging aspect of the work that you do, whether that be the art or your other position?
Yeah, well, I think printmaking, one of the things that I I think is really important about the work that I do is, I mean, I did a lot of school to get the skills that I have, but I don't think you should have to get a lot of school to be a part of this community. Yeah, and I really love finding ways to make really process-heavy stuff accessible. So that's why I'm really passionate about the classes that we offer, trying to find ways to make it like fun and approachable. There's so many like printmaking specific terms that I think when you're in a group of people that have done it for a little while, we have this bad habit of doing like a print CSI thing where we're like, oh wait, but how did you do this? And like it gets very wordy, and like that can make people feel a little on the outside. So trying to take that apart a little bit and make it fun.
Absolutely, break down those barriers.
Yeah,
and kind of include everyone. And
absolutely.
That's so sweet. That's been a common theme in like just talking also with Caitlin and like just speaking with some of the artists, and just the vibe here is very like inclusive. It's art. You can do it too. I mean, Rochelle and I just did the silk. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, silk screen.
Silk screen. That's what it's called. We just did that, and my family is not going to believe that I did that. I know all you do is like pull the thing, but my family's going to be like, "You made that?"
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love the like vibe and the message. That's so wonderful.
Yeah.
And so on the opposite end, what would you say is the most rewarding part of the work that you do?
Ooh, well, a few things. I love it when people say that. What you just said, basically. Like when people who like often people will come into a class and will really like devalue their own creativity, I guess. Like they'll say, you know, there's a lot of apologizing, like I'm not really this or that. And I love that often at the end of a demo, a workshop, a thing, people will be like, oh, that's like I'm actually pretty good. Or they gain a little bit of confidence in this area, and that's so satisfying. And I mean, another side, just like in my own work, I think the thing that keeps me coming back to it, it can be very slow. It can be very like process heavy, and then like getting that moment like when you're like pulling a thing from a press and it's like, oh, and it's good, like it works. There's after all that revising, like that's a really sweet moment. So
it's like the breath out. It's like, oh, I did it.
I did it. Yeah.
That's so wonderful.
Yeah.
And so what was it that led you to be an artist in art?
Well, I come from a very like creative family. Like every vacation was like, my dad would like, it's like, we're gonna go to an art gallery, we're gonna like, you're gonna draw, because he's an artist as well. So it was just kind of like in the ether. And I also went to a lot of funny like alternative California schools where it like turned me on to like that being an option as a like, I'm not sure I would have come to that conclusion if I had grown up anywhere else, that this was a viable like career path. So extremely lucky in that way. But the thing that drew me to printmaking specifically was this like automatic community. Like you're not, like if you're painting, you're kind of, I mean, I love it, but you're often like alone. You can do that alone in your bedroom, kind of anywhere. And I love that, I love being tied to the specialized equipment a little bit and being next to other people that kind of, you're connected to people who value some of the same things that you value. Right away, you get to peek over people's shoulders, see what they're working on, and that's just kind of, I think that's the way to have a sustainable like art practice, is by doing it with other people.
Yeah, having that
Yeah.
connection and like
Yeah.
having conversations and getting inspired by things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's so beautiful.
Yeah, so that's what drew me to printmaking, especially, and like being in. I didn't think I would stay in Edmonton, but like
Yeah, sorry, you studied in California and now you're in Edmonton. No judgment at all, but like I've been to California. It's beautiful and crazy. And Edmonton like works for you. You just love it, or
I do. Like I thought, the print program at the U of A has like a really good reputation. So I thought I would like come here, kind of get the education, and then go wherever like a job was. But it was so like, yeah, the people here are so good, and it was like really awesome to have a space to go to outside of school, outside of an institution. I think that's so like important.
absolutely.
And yeah, and Snap is just the best. So yeah.
Cool. And then so our last question, we just love asking people. It's not specific to art or like your work or anything, but what is the best piece of advice you've received throughout your life?
Ooh, life advice. I mean, I really think, it's not art specific. Well, it kind of is and it isn't. I think there is this idea that, or for a long time, I kind of thought like you had to be, like, if you wanted to be a creative individual, like you kind of had to be a genius, like you had to be like by yourself, like doing it and suffering a lot. And that's just not true. That's just not true. I think the only way to do it is like through other people and like lifting other people up and like building community around you. So yeah, being kind, sharing your knowledge, that's kind of built into the DNA of the work that I do is like, yeah, tied to specialized equipment. You're sharing stuff, sharing space, and that's kind of spilled over into like other parts of my life, and it's been so valuable. So yeah.
Beautiful.
Hope that answers your question.
It definitely does. Absolutely. Thank you.
So Myken is about to run through a silkscreen demo with Bridget and Rochelle, and I believe they're going to be learning how to silkscreen a little bear. So we use a squeegee to pull our ink across a screen. That ink goes through the stencil and onto our paper. So Myken's just doing a flood of the screen, prepping the stencil, and seeing the magic. So with silkscreen, we can get all kinds of beautiful images and different colors on all kinds of different substrates. So we print on paper, we print on t-shirts, you can print on wood, you can print on glass. If it's flat, you pretty much can silkscreen on anything. So Bridget's gonna do her first pull, grabbing her ink, pressing hard on her squeegee, and pulling it across that little bear. And we'll see how she did. Oh, there it is! First Silkscreen Pro.
Yeah, like you've done this before.
And Bridget said she doesn't make art. Silkscreen commonly feels so magical. When people do that pull, they're just seeing the top of the screen, and when you reveal it and see that you've got your image on your paper, it's pretty magical. Now it's Rochelle's big turn. Here we go. So Myken is our print shop technician and our programs coordinator, so she helps facilitate our educational programming, takes care of all our artists. And now it's Rochelle's turn. Will there be a little blue bear? Yay! There we go. Printmaking pros. Silk screening little bears.
These are adorable.
Everyone, welcome back. We just finished up at Snap. Did you see how cute the prints we did are?
They're so cute.
So cute. I'm
And
so
everyone
excited.
in there was so cute. It's so nice.
And you
I had
guys
so
should
much
check
fun.
out their cards. They have birthday, Christmas cards, any event. They're so nice. It's so sweet. Go support them, please.
No, literally.
No,
they were
literally. So nice, so kind. Amazing, like, artists. So also if you're an artist, even more of a reason. Like, now you know that there's a studio and you can get a membership and you can, like, be connected to all these wonderful fellow artists and people who are doing cool things in the community. And again, printmaking goes far beyond what you think it does, because I thought I wasn't going to be able to do it,
And she did it.
and I did it.
Beautifully, too.
They're super knowledgeable. There's also the classes they have going on. If you ever want to check it out or get into it or see if you want to, or that's something you like to do. So look at that.
Your options are endless. Check it out, everyone.
And they're party on December 2nd.
Party on December 2nd. Woo woo. I really want to be there, so I'm going to see if I can. Oh no. I was
All
going to
the
say
cool
I'll call
kids are
into
gonna be
work,
there.
but what if my work saw it?
Okay, we're gonna edit that out. Bridget's not feeling good that day.
No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, all the cool kids will be there. More is more, so wear more. Thanks, guys.